Elaine, Elaine, my sweet Elaine, when shadows fall, I hear you fall.
John's parents, Joseph and Rose Kennedy, sent him to the finest prep schools in New England: Dexter, Canterbury, Riverdale, and Choate. By the time John was 17, the family had grown in size and fortune, and his father had become a multimillionaire. 2 years later, Jack followed his older brother, Joe Jr., to their father's alma mater, Harvard University. A back injury kept John out of football, but he made the Harvard swimming team and was active in campus politics. In 1937, Joseph Kennedy was appointed ambassador to Great Britain by President Roosevelt. Ambassador Kennedy took John, then a sophomore, and Joe Jr. to England with him. In London, John began to think seriously about world events, PT Boat 109. In August 1943, PT 109 was ripped in two by a Japanese destroyer. Despite painful back injuries, Lieutenant Kennedy eluded capture, led his men to safety, and was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for his bravery. A year later, Joe Jr. was killed on a bombing mission in Europe. John was now to assume the political ambition his father had held for his firstborn. In 1945, John Kennedy received a medical discharge from the Navy. He became a reporter assigned to the founding of the United Nations in San Francisco. On January 23, 1953, along with other new arrivals to the Senate, John F. Kennedy was sworn in by Vice President Alben Barkley. Senator John Kennedy became Washington's most eligible bachelor. He renewed a romance with socialite Jacqueline Bouvier that had begun in 1951. In September 1953, they were married at St. Mary's Church in Newport, Rhode Island. 600 guests attended the wedding, which was consecrated by Archbishop Cushing of Boston and blessed by the Pope. A crowd of 3,000 fought for a glimpse of the glamorous newlyweds. More than 1,200 leaders of society and politics attended the reception for the young couple at the 300-acre estate of the bride's mother and stepfather.
If you want any of those names, you can get them. I've been informed.
During 1954, Senator Joseph McCarthy loomed large on the Washington horizon. His running fight with the Army and the state. He returned to the Senate in 1955 and was a leading figure at the 1956 Democratic Convention in Chicago. He was given the honor of placing the name of Adlai Stevenson in nomination for president.
Fellow delegates, I give you the man from Libertyville, the next Democratic nominee and our next President of the United States, Adlai E. Stevenson.
Kennedy made a last-minute bid for the vice presidential nomination, but was unable to fight off the growing support for Senator Estes Kefauver, who won on the third ballot. Stevenson and Kefauver were now the Democratic.
Could you tell us, how is your wife, sir?
She's very well. She's fine.
And the baby?
Very good indeed. We're very grateful for them both being so well.
How are you feeling, sir, in this situation?
Well, I'm all right.
Would you say it was a handsome baby, Senator?
Well, I don't know if I'd get to find baby.
Senator Kennedy, does the baby look like you?
No, well, I'll have to study it some more.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear.
On January the 20th, 1961, John Fitzgerald Kennedy became the 35th President of the United States of America.
I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of your ability,
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
His first
He always made time for the children. It didn't matter whether a state visit was on or a state dinner. His arms were always open when the children were in the neighborhood. Perhaps the most amusing thing that happened was when I asked Mrs. Kennedy, when the children are naughty, who's the disciplinarian? Who punishes them? And she said, well, my husband, you know, is a little bit lenient, a little bit soft about the children, and they are good children. They seldom have to be chastised, but when it happens, I'm the one who does it. Later in the day, I sat with the president, and I said, Mr. President, when the children are naughty, who chastises them? He said, well, you know, Mrs. Kennedy is a little bit lenient, a little bit soft with the children. So if they must be chastised, I'm the disciplinarian in the family.